start the coffee chat off.
Yeah, if nothing else, it makes us feel funny. So it's like, oh, goodness me. Anyways, happy Monday, guys. Welcome back for another Monday version of Coffee Chat with Christina and Lindsay. Here we are. We are talking today about ditching the diet. Last week we talked a little bit, if you guys remember, Christina started the rant. I kind of finished the rant on liquid resets, which is where it started. And then we got a lot of questions about it. So we decided to just do the whole coffee chat this week about it.
Well, and this is something that we see a lot. We get a ton of questions about. I don't know, like, how often in my inbox I get, what about this plan or what about that? And it's funny because in our world, people very much try not to call them diets anymore because people understand that diet isn't this great mindset. But instead I'll get, what about this plan? Or I'm going to do this lifestyle, or, I get all of these. And I mean, let's be honest, guys, we all know what it is. So to start, Lindsay's going to talk a little bit about the diet mindset versus a health mindset and kind of just the difference between the two, really.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've ever seen me do any of my mindset work on opened mindset versus closed mindset, this is kind of where it comes from. And, again, if you haven't, go and look in the group, go and look on our business page, because there's really good information out there about the two. And I'm a true believer is that we should all really have an open mindset. But it is hard. It is really hard, especially because, let's be honest, most of us have lived in a diet world forever. I mean, I posted on our RollerCoaster, right? Is literally like this. And I was going to get all fancy and be like keto, intermittent fasting, paleo, cabbage soup diet. And I was like, yeah, that's too much work. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing.
It really is too much work.
It really is, because there are so many. Like, I've been in this industry for almost 20 years now, guys, and I can tell you, even the people that I worked with when I was newbies, they had 1,000 other ones that they were dealing with back in the day when we talked about it. And so when it comes to the different types of things that are going on, no wonder we're confused. No wonder we have no idea what works, and no wonder we're constantly figuring out what's best for me, because we've been bombarded. The health industry, fitness, diet is a multi-billion-dollar industry for a reason. Right? And if you don't know what that means, it means they're all about making money. So what does that mean for you as a consumer, as the regular Joe, is that you're constantly confused. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to try this. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to try that. Guess what? If something worked really amazingly, the fitness world would be out of business. And that's not what anybody wants. So I want you just to think about the difference between diet mindset and health mindset, right? And even though, as Christina said, people are calling things like the lifestyle plan, right? If there is still a plan in terms of like getting rid of certain things and focusing on other things, it's still a diet. And even though diet itself in the dictionary is not a bad word, we've created it into a bad word, right? Like, I turn around and say, okay, this is the diet I'm following. Everybody's like, ooh, why are you on a diet? I'm like, no, I'm talking about like the food I eat, which is what diet actually means. But that's not kind of how we look at it anymore. So really, let's be honest, let's not use the word in any other form than it is, which in our case, we're talking about ditching the diet, get off the roller coaster, and find something that's really going to work for you. So lifestyle or health mindset, right, is just thinking about hunger, thinking about thirsty, thinking about mindful eating, which we'll talk about in a little bit, of course, emotional eating. There's no bad or forbidden. And I mean, you'll hear Christina and I talk about it, and we always do like the little like cheat days or quote unquote bad and good, because we don't love that term. But then if we don't use those terms, people are like, what is she talking about, right? Like, if we try to just be like, well, eat whatever you feel like eating, right? Most of us would look at, even including ourselves, would look at us like, what? Like that, if I wanted to do that,
never gonna work.
I'm like,
that's why I need surgery.
Right? You're like, what? But this is the thing. We really want to enjoy it and feel good in our bodies. That's the ultimate, right? Enjoy our life, feel good in our bodies, and not be in a place where we're at risk for diseases, and not be in a place where we're morbidly obese, and be in a place where we can enjoy. That's what it's all about. So enjoying the taste, enjoying, what it does for us, the fueling of our system. There are people out there that say food is fuel, and that's it. It should only be that. Well, let's be honest. There's so much more to it than that. So we never take that direct route. But the truth of the matter is that is true. Food is supposed to be there to fuel you. However, there's so many good foods. There's so many, memories that come with that type of stuff. So just remember that, we are talking about the different mindsets, but we're also not dictators and being like, you can't have that. It only should be food. That should not be it. So stop eating when you're full. Clients who eat when they're stressed versus non-stressed, right? These are the things that we're talking about. Our inner voice really should be a nice voice, but most of us, our inner voice is not a nice voice at all. It's not a total nasty bitch, totally. Where in our diet mindset, right, we use words like back on track, and you've heard us say these words, right? You've heard cheat days and treats and bad and good, and the reason that I always do this, and you'll see us talk about it a lot, is because those are diet mindset words. But in our environment, we don't have other terms that you guys would understand. We don't have just eat well, you feel good. And everybody be like, I feel good with donuts.
Clean eating is another one that you hear all the time, is clean eating. But what clean eating is to one person is very different to clean eating to another person. So just using terms like that, I find in our world that we live in, that those terms are very vague, and that many of us who have lived in the obesity world for a long time need more specifics than just to say eat well or eat clean or, fuel your body or food is fuel or, eat to be healthy or ditch the diet or any of those things. It's so vague. And I know myself specifically, I needed more, more rigid terms things like bad and good do kind of come up, and treats and cheats and, those kind of things. So finding balance in that journey, but balance in a healthier way where I'm not doing, so for myself, the diet mentality is a lot about restricting and binging. That was what I lived in. Anybody that knows me knows I can follow a plan very, very well. I am a rule follower. So I would follow a plan very well for even a long period of time, but I couldn't do it forever because it was far too rigid and there wasn't balance involved. So then I would go into that restrict for a long time and then binge. And that is actually really bad for your metabolism. So
absolutely. And again, I'm somewhat the opposite of Christina in terms of I am not necessarily a real follower. However, I am that very all or nothing kind of personality. So you give me a plan and I can follow it through and through to a T. But then the moment I can't anymore, then it's just like shit hits the fan and and binge shakes a whole new world. And so this is the thing where we really want you to think about is that, when you're going through trying to find it, I think the best term, and we use it a lot, is your balance, right? That is what we're looking for. You're looking for balance in fitness. You're looking balance for nutrition. You're looking balance in support. You're looking balance in mindset, which guess what means not all or nothing. And this has been a big thing. It's a really hard thing for a lot of us. And I know because we've talked to many of you guys within this group, within our Your Bariatric Transformation Academy, the all or nothing mentality that we have all got into our head is really, really hard. And guess what? It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And when you're thinking about a plan and starting to make that plan and, take those beginning steps, you can't just think about what you want for today and what's going to work today or tomorrow or next week or even next month, but you need to think about the long term and what do you want health to look like for you in the long term. So that was something that I really cared about at the beginning of my journey, and all through my journey. It's something that I've always kept in mind is what does healthy look like to me? And so one of the terms that I use all the time, and again, it's not all the proper words, but I always wanted to be the skinny girl who eats all the time because I love to eat. And I see these girls, and one of them was one of my very best friends. She ate all the time, but she fueled her body with the proper food most of the time. And she did eat frequently. And I was like, how do you stay so skinny eating all the time? Well, I learned it was metabolism. So I was so focused on metabolism through my journey. So I was far less focused on restricting carbs or, doing all of those things, that I just made this laser focus on revving my metabolism up as hot as I could. And that was one of the things that I definitely, kind of give credit to my success, is that I've really focused on metabolism, and I continue to focus on metabolism. And I feel like with that, I can live in balance, that I can have treats or sweets or whatever it is occasionally. And I sort of learned what that balance looks like for me and in my life. And that was healthy to me. So thinking about what healthy looks like to you, if healthy looks like that you're never going to eat a carb again, and if that feels okay to you in your life, and you're like, every time I eat carbs, I feel so junky. Like I know Robin, for instance, she definitely talks about her RA flares up when she eats carbohydrates and a lot of dairy as well. So for her, healthy does not look like those foods, that doesn't feel good in her body. So, shifting to a more keto approach does make sense in the long term when there's other health things besides just your weight that are impacted by eating those foods. So when you think about health, if that meant pain-free and those foods cause you pain, well then yes, shifting away from those makes sense. And it's not just a fad, and it's not just a diet, and it's not something that, you know, you're probably going to binge out on a lot because it hurts and it doesn't feel good. So really focusing when you're thinking about that plan on what healthy looks like, and not just the skinny part of healthy, but what does healthy look like for you? What does it feel like when you think about healthy foods? What do those bring up to you? And kind of just getting an idea of what that feels like for you and creating your plan in the long term that way.
Yeah, and you have to remember too is, and we said this at the beginning, we say this all the time, everybody's journey is so much different, right? And so, I mean, both Christina and I have spent time creating plans, because that's what people think they want. They create plans. Okay, so let's look at this, let's do this, let's do that. And then eventually it's like, well, I don't like that, or I'm not a big fan of that, or I'm not going to follow that. And so all of the work that you put in gets thrown out because they don't want to follow that, which we understand, which is why oftentimes our answer is actually we don't create plans anymore. And it's because it has to be so much more personalized than that. But I want you to think about this for a second. This is where kind of that mentality of, you know, starting where you are and not necessarily going all out, right? Because this is the problem, right? So if you're this person who every day on the way to work stopped at McDonald's, and for years and years and years, you got 2 of the Egg McMuffins every single day for years, I'm not going to turn around to you and say, never stop at McDonald's again. I'm going to say, you know what, if you're having, let's do the math, 5 days a week, you know, good job on me, 10.
Nice.
Look at that, right? I'm going to say maybe start with 4, right? Yeah, you have the calculator. Right, not necessarily remove them all together, but I had a client that was really big into sweet tea. And again, Americans, I know you know what this means, us Canadians have no idea, but she was like, I want to have all this sweet tea. She didn't drink coffee, she didn't drink regular tea, so she thought this was the way that I would do it. So I never once said to her, don't drink sweet tea, which is what our usual like diet mentality goes into. I got to cut it out. Well, no, because guess what's going to happen? You're not going to do very well. You're going to probably get binge back into it. So I just said to her, okay, if you have 17 a day, which is a little exaggerated, of course, but if you have that many, let's cut it down by 3. Let's cut it down by 2. Now let's cut down the amount of sugar you put in each tea. Now let's, right? And it was baby steps. You hear us say it all the time, right? Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And eventually she's not done tea, because guess what? I drink tea. Christina drinks coffee. We look at things that how we can make them a little bit better for us each and every time, but it's not a complete removal. So, you know, I had somebody ask me recently about the carnivore diet. Right? These are the questions we get all the time. Well, what do you think about the carnivore diet? And surprisingly enough, I actually have done the carnivore diet. I do a lot of things to try and see, just like Christina, we test things out, intermittent fasting, carb cycling. We want to see what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I've done it. And you know what? Did I lose weight? Absolutely. Was I able to hold into it? For sure. But guess what happened? I was salivating at the thought of lettuce. I was dying at the thought of a piece of fruit. So for me, I just knew that wasn't going to be a long-term solution. Can it do something for you? Of course it can. I always used to say to anybody I worked with, I can get you to what you want, but it's staying there, maintaining that, living that for as long as you want to live. And nobody wants to, nobody wants to live in that world.
And that is the metabolism impact, the impact of your metabolism. So for many of us, before we had surgery, I know this was myself, that I had done so many diets and I lived on that roller coaster and that up and down, and sizes were varying. I mean, I got down to about the same size that I am right now, but I couldn't maintain it because I did it in such an unhealthy way. And then I went back up, and then I would go back down, and then I would go back up. And then I finally got to a point where I couldn't go back down anymore. My metabolism just said no. And so that was my big reason for surgery, is I tried everything to lose the weight and I just couldn't anymore. Like nothing worked because my metabolism just like shut off on me. Like it was like, nope, power off, we're done. So that was why for me, metabolism has been such a big thing. And I see people do it in the bariatric world too, where they crash diet in the bariatric world and then they binge, and there's that regain, you know, lose, regain, whatever. And then eventually your metabolism is going to shut down. And it's the same thing for those of you that are living in that 800-900 calorie range. Oh, hi puppies. You're doing irreversible damage to your metabolism, that you can get to a point where you cannot reverse that again. Thankfully, most of you are not there at this point. Actually, I think there's probably almost nobody in the bariatric world that's there. It takes 20 plus years of damaging metabolism to get there. It takes a really long time, and you can do little things slowly over time to reverse the damage to your metabolism, but it's real hard. And for those of you that have had regain, getting that regain off is way harder than it was to lose the weight initially. So that is something that I very, very, all the time I'm cautioning people against, because it is so hard and it really messes with your mindset. But if you can just really focus on that metabolism and finding that balance in long term. I see people all the time when I'll create a plan with somebody, because again, I don't create plans for people anymore, but I will create plans with people now. But when I create a plan with people and they'll bring me their plan and say, okay, this is what I'm going to eat this week. And I'm like, what about takeout? And they're like, oh, I'm not going to do takeout. I'm like, well, you did takeout 7 times last week, so now you're going to do none? Like, are you sure that's really reasonable? Takeout isn't the worst thing in the world. Lindsay and I both do takeout sometimes. I saw you at Uber Eats. You were waiting for it the other day. That we had burritos yesterday. So, we definitely still do takeout sometimes. I changed the takeout that I'm doing now, and I plan it into my weeks. So weeks when we are going to do takeout, I definitely make a plan for it and I account for it. So that's something that, I just try to make sure that I do. And that's what I encourage our clients to do as well, is to plan for those things. So Lindsay and I have our planning party coming up, if you haven't heard about it. And that is one of the things that we will really try to encourage you to do. I actually have the draft of the handout that I'm creating right here. Well, actually, the draft of the picture that I will send to somebody who can make a much better handout than I can. So of exactly how to create a meal plan for a week. Because it's not just a matter of, prepping a whole bunch of food on Monday and then eating it through the week, because you're going to get bored of things, you're going to get sick of things are going to come up. What if that food goes bad? It was about a month ago now, I made this amazing, delicious bean salad. And like in 2 days, it went bad on me. And I was like, what the heck? There's no way it should have gone bad in 2 days, but it did. So then I had to adjust my whole plan around that stupid bean salad. So things happen. For Lindsay, making fitness plans for people and helping people to make fitness plans. That's great. You have this awesome fitness plan, and then you get sick on Wednesday. So then what happens? We derail so bad. So that is a lot of what we're going to talk about in our planning party, is making these backup plans and planning for things that don't always go perfectly. So creating a plan is something that you really need to do, and it needs to be redone all the time. That the plan that you create this week doesn't necessarily work for next week, because your week is different week to week. Kids have activities, you have things come up, work changes, schedules change, everything is different all the time. The weather can play into it. We're coming into that we could get the S word anytime now, which is a horrible, horrible thing to think, but I live in Calgary. So that if all of my fitness plan was outside and then all of a sudden it snows, well, everything's going to change for me, because I'm not going outside in that snow. So you just have to make those plans and figure out how to do things a little bit differently. So have things like that are backup plans, and then changing things. And if you make a whole plan around, one of our clients this weekend couldn't find fresh zucchini anywhere. So if you had a whole meal plan planned around zucchini this week, and then you can't find zucchini, well, you're going to need to adjust something. So that's a lot of what we're going to do in our planning party, is teach you how to make a plan, and then how to adjust your plan, and then how to check in with your plan. Debbie says, bite your tongue. I know, Debbie, but we know it can happen. Oh. It's awful that we have to think like that.
It's definitely awful. But that's the thing. And I find it really interesting, because people find that if they even create the plan, they're at the point where they're like, yes, good for me, I created a plan, which is amazing. We're so proud of you for doing that. But then again, if something were to change, if something were to happen, it's like, well, now what? We have people in our programs that, get, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happens, who get injured, or, who get sick, or something happens. And it's like, okay, they reach out to us and they say, well, now what? And so, they get their planner kind of in the program, all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Actually, most of the time. But that's the idea, is that we want to be able to show you what can happen when you are able to readjust your plan. What happens when? I have a client, actually, if you're friends with me on Facebook, I posted about this. This is her 30-year anniversary with me today. So I've been training her for 3 years. And somebody said to me, they're like, oh my gosh, so you've been training with her for 5 days a week for 3 years? And I was like, no. I started with her once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week, then 4 times a week, then 5 times a week. Now, we have been at 5 times a week for the last year. Now, in that 3 years, can you imagine how many times she's been sick, been injured, something's gone wrong? Her kids, right? Her business, right? We all have these things going on. But what tends to happen is this: we kind of do exactly what Christina did, screw it and throw it away. But guess what? If you have an elbow injury, we can do stuff on the lower body. If you have a back injury, I can still do things with you like stretching or yoga or something. So there's always a way to readjust that plan. And now, granted, working one-on-one with somebody, you get that option right away. But in the planning party, that's what we're going to show you. We're going to show you, A, how to make the best plan for you, and B, what happens when. right? It's almost like the, eat this, not that. We've done something like that before. This is kind of the same idea. Plan this if something were to come into play. What happens then? And so you're not just going to leave with just one plan. You're going to leave with an opportunity to figure out what happens when or if. I mean, we know in the when the snow comes, that's not an if. In my case, if snow came, we would be in really big trouble.
Well, or hurricanes, or
exactly, that's right.
COVID, that there's these things that happen in our world that we can't always plan for every single thing, but we can have backup plans in place. One of the things that you're going to walk away from with the planning party is some ideas of meals to always kind of have the ingredients on hand for. So meals and snacks that you should always have things in your pantry, fridge, or freezer that are going to be able to help you stay on track. So that if you open your fridge and your bean salad has gone bad, what can you put in there instead? Or, and by the way, bean salad going bad in your fridge is disgusting. It stinks so bad. It took me like 2 days to figure out what was smelling so awful in my house. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. But figuring out what to put in, or if suddenly your husband comes home from work tonight and he wants to celebrate because he got a promotion and you guys are going out for dinner, but you had this other meal planned. How do you do that? How do you make that happen so that your entire life isn't impacted? But how do you not have that happen every day? So figuring out those pieces of how to allow real life to happen and, real things come up and to continue on fairly seamlessly so that you don't go into panic mode and you don't shut down when the plans change. Because I know a lot of us, we get so, into that plan that this is what I have to eat and I have to have tuna for lunch today, but my kid ate the last can of tuna. Now I don't have any tuna. Now I'm in a panic because I don't know what to eat instead. And I get messages like this almost every day, guys, that it's like, I had planned this, but now I don't have this, or this happened, or I'm out and I don't know what to do. And so that's what we're going to teach you, to just be able to calmly move through those things and allow the plan to happen. So you make your plan, you're executing your plan, but then you're also able to adjust and shift the plan as needed. The planning party is really going to be life-changing for so many people that a lot of us can either create the plan, maybe, some of us can't do that. Some people can execute the plan, that's good. Very few people can shift the plan. That's where we usually see kind of the biggest fall apart happen. Again, some people get stuck right in the planning phase, but the very first phase. So that one, I'm confident we can help people, and we've helped many, many people in being able to create a plan. And then executing the plan. I think a lot of people can do well in executing the plan for a period of time. But we're going to teach you how to make a plan that is more sustainable. Lindsay and I are never about the quick results. We're never about let's get you to this and then let it go, let it fall apart. We want this to be long-term, sustainable, life-changing, something you can live with forever. It is one of the first questions I ask people when they want to work with me is like, what do you see healthy look like long-term for you? That I don't care that you want to get to this goal weight. Like, that's great that your goal weight's 160 pounds or whatever it is. What's going to happen when you get to that goal? What's going to change in your world? And how are you going to live at that forever? So if you used intermittent fasting to get to your goal, are you going to intermittent fast forever? Because if you're not, then getting to the goal using that isn't the greatest idea. Because anything that you use to get to your goal, you kind of have to live there forever. And honestly, that's why maintenance has been so easy. I'm not going to use that word lightly, but easy for me, because I got to the goal the same way that I maintained the goal. I didn't use any crash diets. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't go on all liquids for 10 months or whatever. That I got to it by eating real food in a balanced way, and I've been able to maintain that. If you guys follow my Facebook stories, I had the most freaking delicious breakfast ever this morning. I had a protein crepe filled with blueberries, topped with like coconut whipped cream. It's so good.
Yeah, guys, if you don't follow us, as in terms of friends, definitely do that, because we post a lot of our foods almost every day, so you can get some ideas. I know there's times where I've been like, ooh, that looks good, I'll take a photo. I'll be like, what did you use for that? And we'll talk to each other. But I also have a lot of people, and I'm sure Christina does too, which is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to save this. I want to try this for next time, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the actual diet roller coaster and how do you ditch it, as Christina said, we are talking balance, sustainable lifestyle, and planning. Those really are the keys to our success when it comes to figuring out what makes the most sense to you, because everybody is going to be different. We already know this, but everybody can have a plan, have some balance, have sustainability, and have it as a lifestyle.
And over the last 4 years, Lindsay and I have done many, many programs, but we've never offered something where we show you how to make your own plan with the information that you already have. So whether it's information you have from us, information that you've gathered on your own, information that you got from your surgeon, whatever sort of plan you want to follow long-term, we're going to show you how to customize it for you and make it your own, and then how to follow it and adjust it. And we've never done this before, which is pretty exciting. And it's like $10, which is even more exciting. That we're going to give you all this awesome information for $10. Did we make a mistake? Should we change that?
I don't know. We always seem to make a mistake when we offer a deal. But this is the thing, right? I mean, the nice thing about what we're doing is, as Christina said, if you have a binder full of information from your surgeon, bring it along. Yeah. Because we're going to be doing the presentation, we're going to be teaching you things, but we have a massive portion of this masterclass that's going to be question and answers for you guys. So, I mean, if you're in a place where you're like, I have this binder and like on page 67, it says this, we're going to be able to talk to you about that. And that's the nice thing, right? So, whether you are really quiet, whether you have always been in the shadows, whether you could just lurking and watching, this is an opportunity for you to actually get information about you. And this is why it's really, really going to be amazing. And as Christina said, we've never done it before. We're super, super pumped about it. The information we're going to bring is going to be awesome because the planning portion is going to be so powerful for you guys individually. And then there's a huge question and answer session afterwards to allow you guys to be like, okay, I got what you said. I did this, I did that, but I don't know where to do that. And how do I connect it with that? And so we're going to be there for you guys to answer questions as well.
And as for when, if you haven't seen it, if you've lived under a rock, it's next Tuesday, the 29th of September, and it's being held on Facebook in a private Facebook group. Yes, another group. But the information will all be recorded. So even if you can't join the entire 2-hour session live, because it's going to go back and forth between Lindsay and I. And so if you can't do the entire 2 hours live, you can always watch it back and ask questions back as well. And we'll be able to give you a little bit of feedback in the after part of it as well to, kind of figure out how to implement your plan and all of those kind of things. So you're going to walk away with a ton of great information, some great handouts and worksheets to be able to actually put your plan in place. We also are going to help you to find the perfect accountability buddy for you. So many of you guys have developed or found accountability buddies over the years, and some of you have done amazing and found ones that really fit great for you. But if you haven't, we're going to show you how to find one. And honestly, Lindsay and I really know something about finding a buddy to work with because we've kind of done it. So, and we've done it well, and we found a partnership that works really well. So we have some great ideas in how to show you to find somebody that's going to work well with you and give you what you want and need, and then show you how to give them what they want and need as well. So in terms of working with relationships, it's going to be something really powerful as well, because I really believe that you need to have that supportive community in order to bring you further and push you along. And I mean, Lindsay talks about it all the time. So many people in this world are obligers, and they need to have that external accountability. So we're going to help you find it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be so exciting. I cannot wait. But guys, remember, this week on Thursday, you'll get an email, I believe, from me talking a little bit more about ditching the diet roller coaster. On Saturday, did you know we have a blog? Some people are like, what? We've been doing it for months now.
You can seriously go and spend hours reading our blog right now.
You really could. You really could. So Saturday, our blog goes up about the same thing. And don't forget to join the Get Your Shit Together planning party, because that's what it's all about. We hear all the time people saying to us, what do we do? What do we do? Together. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, right? So that's why we called it Let's Get Your Shit Together planning party. You'll find the link somewhere. We can post it in here as well. It's only $9.97, $9.95. I don't know, something like that. It is such a good deal, and since we've never ever done it before, we're going to bring the heat. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. So guys, have a fantastic Monday, whatever, wherever, whatever weather you have going on. Enjoy it, and we will talk to you again next Monday. Bye.
Bye, guys.